queer joy news.
Right.
And it's brilliantly written, and I really enjoy it, and you all should be checking it out. I don't want to... We've got a couple minutes left here, and this could be a larger conversation, but I recently watched for the first time The Celluloid Closet, which was an HBO production in the 90s.
95,
and it was based off of, and I'm blanking on his name...
Vito Russo.
Vito Russo's book.
Yep.
And it was talking about LGBTQ characters and storylines on film from the beginning of Hollywood all the way through the 90s. And it had this sense of like progressive in the sense of look at how far we've come and now we've got all of these things happening and it's only going to get better. And I was like, how much better did it get though? And, you know, obviously there are films that we can go to here, and there's Tubi, T-U-B-I, dozens of LGBTQ films that you can watch. However, the majority of them, and I would argue the best of them, are international.
Yep.
They're not made in the United States. They're not made in Hollywood. And that's what Celluloid Closet was focusing in on, was Hollywood. Right. And so I learned a lot of interesting things in there about how they were getting around the codes, you know, people that I didn't realize were queer, you know, storylines I didn't realize that they were trying to make that innuendo very clear to get around the censors, but you watch it and you go, wow, here's some really interesting history that I appreciated. But this idea of progress, and, you know, people are like, what are you talking about, John? There's absolutely been progress. And I would just point out that there's only been one man who has ever been nominated for the Oscar, Best Actor Oscar, in the 21st century. The only out man to ever be nominated. Who do you think that is?
I know who it is.
Well, who is it?
It's Sir Ian McKellen.
No, that was Best Supporting Actor. Coleman Domingo.
Oh, Coleman.
Coleman Domingo is the only out man.
He's been nominated
I got to
twice.
wrap this up, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. But anyway, check it out. It's on HBO and I think Prime as well. You can watch it. And Tubi, I think, is also available there. But thanks, everyone, for watching. You can keep the gay going all weekend long. On Saturday afternoon is Pride on AM 950. You can catch up on the best of The Gaily Show at 2, Twin Cities Pride Amplified at 3, The Legal Trans Woman at 4, The Downright Upright Show with Philip Anthony at 5. On Sunday at 11 a.m., tune in to WCPT 820 for Out Chicago at Sunday Brunch with your gay best friends, Ellen and Scott. And until next week, everyone, keep it queer, America.
Please keep it queer.
Thanks to the Biden-Harris administration's prescription drug law, people with Medicare now have lower costs and more benefits, including a $35 monthly cap on covered insulin, free recommended vaccines, and a brand new $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket drug costs beginning in January. Finally, thanks to the law, Medicare is now negotiating directly with drug companies, resulting in new, lower prices for 10 of the most expensive and most prescribed drugs in Medicare. Learn more at lowerdrugcosts.gov.
Sponsored by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Teachers are dynamic leaders shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. They're skilled experts, discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, leading by example. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org, supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
You are listening to WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk station, where facts matter and truth always wins. Stay informed, stay engaged.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The Trump administration will ask a federal judge to end a policy that ensures safe conditions for immigrant children held in federal custody. AP correspondent Donna Warder has more.
A federal judge in Los Angeles will hold a hearing Friday to hear the Trump administration's request to end a nearly 3-decade policy to ensure safe conditions for immigrant children held in federal custody. The policy limits how long Customs and Border Protection can hold immigrant children, and it requires them to be kept in safe and sanitary conditions. It also allows a third party to inspect facilities holding immigrant children. The Trump administration says the government has made substantial changes since since the policy began in 1997, and that the government has created standards and policies governing the custody of immigrant children. The Biden administration successfully pushed to partially end the agreement last year. Advocates for immigrant children say the policy must remain in place, and they've submitted first-hand accounts of adults in detention fighting children for clean water, despondent toddlers, and a child with swollen feet who was denied a medical exam. I'm Donna Warder.
Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz says his country will not authorize any exports of military equipment that could be used in Gaza until further notice. Germany has been a long-standing supporter of Israel. Today's move comes after the Israeli cabinet announced plans to take over Gaza City. Chinese state media reports that at least 10 people have died and 33 are missing after flash floods in Yuzhong County in China's northwestern Gansu province. And in California, a fire north of Los Angeles has forced thousands of evacuations. The Canyon fire has grown over 2.3 square miles. As of late afternoon yesterday, Ventura County officials said it remained 0% contained and was spreading east. This is AP News. AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports the Trump administration is stepping up the federal law enforcement presence in the nation's capital.
The White House says President Trump has ordered an increase of federal law enforcement in Washington, D.C. for at least the next week. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the city has been plagued by violent crime, and the increased federal presence will protect innocent citizens. The move follows the president's suggestion Monday that his administration could take over running the city.
Either they're going to straighten their act out in the terms of government and in terms of protection, or we're going to have to federalize and run it the way it's supposed to be run.
Trump spoke after a weekend assault on a former member of his Doge team. Police say the young man was the victim of an attempted carjacking. 2 15-year-olds were arrested, and D.C. officials can point to declines in carjackings and homicides since 2023. Ben Thomas, Washington.
More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the lower 90s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74. Saturday, sunshine, high of 93 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for showers and storms, a high of 91. Monday, chance for rain and storms, high of 87. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 75.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems, like snoring, aches and pains, hot sleep, or even an old saggy mattress that can keep you up at night. And our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now get a king bed for a queen price, plus a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter. Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives. We made it. Welcome to the August 8th, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. And of course, I post on things. You know, I put it out there that we're going to be on and who our guests will be, and has some nice little fancy pictures. And how do you know that? Because you can follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, and Substack. So, I put the pictures up and a little, hey, progressives, hey, folks, check us out. Obviously, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. That's where you can get Choose Views featured versions of the show. Of course, that's our as well as our full episodes are available there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Just search for Choose Views or get the links in my show by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on my picture. There you go. The latest is there. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, the big picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Great articles and clips there. Too many to play today, given the busyness of our show, but you'll be able to see the Heartland Signal on X announcement from Marsha Blackburn that she's running for governor in Tennessee, which is, all kinds of comments about that. Also, some additional clips from the Texas Democratic Caucus, the leaders there, Representative Ramon Romero, Chair Jean Wu, of course, Jasmine Crockett, who's not part of the House. I'm sorry, not part of the state representatives, but a U.S. representative. So there's some really great clips there that you'll want to take a peek at over at heartlandsignal.com. Make your way there. And today on our show, we have, it's Friday, so that means we might be talking to a few people. We had an opportunity to interview, I did, with my man Henry's help, to interview Mark Updegrove, who is the president and CEO of the LBJ Library, so we're looking forward to having a chat with him. We'll have that in the 6:30 hour. And then Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast will be here with us at 7 o'clock in studio. And then we'll have a chat at 7:30 with Congresswoman Robin Kelly. So that's what's happening today. That's what you guys will be able to plug into. But right now, another word from one of the great voices out there. Check this out, progressives.
I'm State Representative Ann Johnson from Houston, Texas, and along with my Democratic colleagues, we have broken quorum out of Texas to try to protect the interest of voters, not only in our state, but nationwide. And I will tell you that the first day, they threatened our position in leadership. The second day, they threatened financial ruin for us personally. And now on the third day, they have threatened our lives. It does not weaken our resolve. It happened, we are safe, and we continue to move forward. I will tell you, as your former chief human trafficking prosecutor out of Houston, Texas, I'm accustomed to criminals threatening my life. But I never thought I'd see the day that it would come from our governor, our attorney general, or the president of the United States. Things are different now. It is time for everybody to catch that courage and stand up and say Republican extremism is no good for not only Texas, but not for our nation. It is time for us to get back to the things that are truly our values. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We can disagree without threatening one another. And we can disagree and have our own without trying to take away from somebody else. So let's get back to the heart of being Texan and being American.
Yeah, she speaks the truth. And I really like her forcefulness, but also her, she was a voice in the interview with this CBS reporter where we played the clip yesterday, and she's not one that's quote unquote backing down or going to take this line down. And that's a voice that we want to continue to hear. She's a state representative, but I would say that she'd be a good. This is what I got to say about the folks, the representatives from the state legislature, the Democrats from the state legislature in Texas. This is what I'm going to say. And I'll go out on a limb, but I'll say this in a really believing way. They have some resonance about them that resembles some of our state representatives here in Illinois. And to say some of the things that they've said and to say them in the way that they've said gives me some hope for something that, I'm being optimistic about, and that's this. Let's just, let's just see what happens. But they've got a strong bench there in the Democratic state legislature from what we're seeing from the folks who we've been, I guess you'll say, partnered with to make sure that they are safe and that they're protecting the rights of Texas citizens and voters. as well as how that expands out to the rest of the country. So I'm optimistic about what those folks can get done because they showed courage, the courage to stand up for what they are elected to do and how they actually can do it. These threats, not the bomb threat. The bomb threat is completely off the rails. But the threats to, arrest them and come and get them, that's just that old, escaped slave garbage. It just is. And, I'm not going to tiptoe around it. That's all that is. Coming from a Southern governor, Southern attorney general, Southern, Republican-led state legislature, white guys that are doing that kind of stuff, and white guys that are racist and sexist and biased. I want to deal with something that happened yesterday. I got a text yesterday. I'm going to just say this now. I get a lot of texts, and they're on the full spectrum of ones that are nice and kind and say nice things about the show and the work that we do here and the station, and I love those. But I also equally love the ones that are challenging to me, that say, hey, Chu, you're missing this here. You need to do this differently or better. I don't bend myself into a pretzel over it because that's stupid. But I hear it and I go, okay, what can I learn from it? And Henry will tell you that. Devin will tell you that. But the one thing I won't tolerate, period, are threats. And I got a mild threat yesterday from a text. Unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Just like it's unacceptable for people who are in the Texas Democratic legislature getting threatened, to be rounded up, to be hunted down, go get them. It's that old slave mentality talk. So, or enslavement mentality talk. Let me get that right. So let me speak to a couple things, and then we're going to hit a quick break. When I call out a person or a group of people for their behavior, I'm typically calling them out for their behavior. If your behavior warrants that, then you're going to get that. That's why I'm very careful to say that someone is a thing. But if they're doing a thing, then they open themselves up to the observations. Okay, and that's something that I've done since forever. And when I see the guys that are trying to have the voices like they have, trying to create harm and disconnect and disenfranchisement of people, I'm going to call that out. And I should, and you should too. You should be willing to call that out without worrying about people saying, oh, you're being this, you're being that. If someone's behavior is such, then it needs to be called out as such. And that includes me. I don't take myself off that list. So when I say that these guys are being, then they are being. And if I happen to denote that based on their culture or their gender or what they show, what they're showing us, I'm not by myself on that. We've got clips of not black folks saying it, but white folks saying what I'm saying. So what are you going to call them? I mean, help me understand. What are you going to call that person that calls out their own culture and community? Karen Byrne is one of those folks that does that. So, just one of those FYI moments. I think that the Texas Democratic state legislatures are doing the thing that they need to do. And as Ann Johnson said, State Representative Ann Johnson said, they're not going to back down. And thank goodness for the state of Illinois and the governor being there to support them in that effort. And the Republicans in the state of Illinois that have a problem with it, then check your own business. And I mean elected officials on down to voters. If you got a problem with it, then check your own business. Because they have the right to do it. Historically, I read that a couple of days ago, going back to 1870. But no, you can't do it because Democrats do something like this. Suddenly, all the rules don't apply to what Republicans have done or what's actually on the book for people to do. Oh, no, you can't do that. Watch and see. All right, let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
Warm temperatures are here, so make sure your AC is ready for the heat of the season by calling ARS Rescue Rooter. Take advantage of our $49 HVAC tune-up today by calling 1-800-857-9950 or visiting mydiscounttune-up.com. Regular HVAC maintenance can not only save you money on energy bills, but also on costly repairs. Waiting to service your system until you need to can leave you sweating the consequences. Dial 1-800-857-9950 to avoid the costly repairs that neglecting your system can create. ARS Rescue Rooters professional technicians are available 7 days a week and offer free estimates, so the time to have your system checked is now. Why wait? Call ARS Rescue Rooter to schedule your $49 HVAC tune-up at 1-800-857-9950 or visit mydiscounttune-up.com. That's 1-800-857-9950 today. For terms and conditions, please visit mydiscounttune-up.com.
Call ARS and Rescue Rooter.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. We're going to hit you with a few things back to back since it's Friday. Starting off with some Choose Views news on this August 8th, 2025. Recurrent jobless claims are climbing, a fresh sign of stalled hiring. Continuing claims for unemployment benefits touched their highest level since November of 2021. The applications climbed by 38,000 to 1.9 million in the week ended July 26, the most recent period for which data is available from the Labor Department. New claims nudged higher to 226,000 last week, which still is a subdued level as layoffs remain low, though employers have pulled back on hiring. The tariffs began and scrambling trade has taken place. Sweeping U.S. tariffs, I'm going to call these Trump tariffs, struck over 90 countries at midnight last night, unleashing a new era of global trade that pushes rates to their highest levels in almost a century. That's just craziness. Even America's closest trade partners weren't exempt from, with negotiated 15% tariffs hitting the European Union, Japan, South Korea, and higher rates imposed on Canada and Brazil. Donald Trump followed through on a threat to assess 50% tariffs on India and sent foreign governments scrambling to negotiate exemptions. Meanwhile, business leaders are assessing how they will be affected. We already know that they're being affected because of the many times we've reported the increase in cost for this, the increase in cost for that, the layoffs that are taking place, businesses that are closing. Donald Trump is an idiot. Firms report quickening pace of RTO. The pace of returning to the office has picked up, with more companies also saying they intend to expand their workplaces. According to commercial real estate firm CBRE, almost 3/4 of the 184 companies it tracks have met their attendance goals, up from 61% last year. And with the share of those monitoring the trend surging to 69% from 45%. Still, companies say attendance is slightly below the 3.2 days per week they seek since the pandemic virtually emptied their offices in 2020. And last but not least, those are students who are looking to get into the federal processing for student aid. The free application for federal student aid for the 26-27 academic year is already available to a limited number of students nearly 2 months ahead of the typical start date, thanks to a beta test conducted by the U.S. Department of Education. Advocacy groups hailed the early launch, optimistic that it will offset some of the snags that have occurred in recent application cycles. This particular process, known as FAFSA submissions, is one of the best indicators that high school seniors will attend college. So there you go, guys. A couple of quick items from Choose Views News on this busy Friday, August 8th, 2025. And since it is Friday, we have a few things to put you in the mode of doing stuff if you're in and around the Chicago area today and this weekend. What do those include? The North Halsted Market Days will be taking place today, 3600 North Halsted to Belmont and Addison. Nice place to get out and week-long music and festival celebrating the community. So make your way over there to Chicago's landmark North Halsted Lakeview neighborhood. Bud Billiken Parade tomorrow. All I got to do is say Bud Billiken and people know what that's all about. One of the best historic parades in the country. And that's taking place in Washington Park, 5531 South King Drive. If you come to Chicago this weekend, that's a parade you might want to check out. It's always fun. Lots of great music and got just performances and such. So you can check that out. Maxwell Street Market is going to be busy this weekend, 800 South Des Plaines. You have a chance to try some eclectic mix of foods, handcrafts and resale housewares, all the rest. Nice place to be over in the Little Italy University Village area. Bugapalooza. We're all about paloozas around here. That's taking place in Lincoln Park this weekend, actually on Sunday. So make your way over there. 2430 North Cannon Drive, near the Peggy Notebart Nature Museum. The Ginza Holiday Festival is taking place at the Midwest Buddhist Temple, 435 West Menominee Street. Make your way there. 70th, that's 70th 70th Annual Ginza Holiday Festival is another opportunity for you to get out. And if you want to take in the arts, the parade, the Tony Award-winning play is taking place downtown Chicago at the CIBC Theater, 18 West Monroe. Chicago Men's Tennis Challenger is taking place at the XS Tennis Village, 5336 South State Street. ATP players will be there. It's a challenge tour event. If you're into tennis, make your way down there. Lots of things happening. Chicago White Sox playing the Cleveland Guardians. That's another opportunity for you to get out and check out some baseball over at Guaranteed Field. And the Chicago Fire versus the Los Angeles FC team is going to be taking place tomorrow at Soldier Field. Not Soldiers, Soldier Field. You guys all know where that is. So make your way out, guys. So many good things to do this weekend. We're in the middle of August, and I think this is the time to take advantage. Summer's not over. I say this all the time, Henry. Summer, if you can feel the heat, it's warm. Summer's not over. Summer doesn't end until September 21st. So we still got really summer time according to the calendar. And also for those who say, nope, Richard, summer ends when kids start going back to school and Labor Day weekend. But get out and enjoy yourself this weekend and be able to take advantage. As I'm fanning myself because it's warm in the studio this morning. Because it's warm outside. All right. So the city, this is a local item that I think is important because it has some historical perspectives to it. What is that? The city approves first Chicago River open for swimming in almost a century. After a long sort of battle back and forth, the city approved the first official open water swim to take place in the city in nearly a century. And that means that folks will be able to jump into the Chicago River in September and take part in some of the events that are going to be happening there. So for the longest time, it's a long time coming, according to some of the organizers, but it is something that is going to be available and taking place. To address safety, just to let you guys know, I do want to leave you with this. Organizers say they will deploy over 100 safety personnel with 40 lifeguards, one for every 7 swimmers, to monitor the course on kayaks, paddle boards, jet skis, rowboats, and power boats. So there you go. The Chicago Swim. I think the date that we've got here, September 21st. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I know that'll get a little bit more attention as we get closer to it. But there you go. Something that we haven't done in a long, long time is going to happen in Chicago. There you go. All right, guys. Listen, I started off the show with the clip from Texas Representative Ann Johnson and talking about what's happening in Texas and what they're doing, and why she feels that they have to do this in the manner in which they can, because they are allowed to, first and foremost. And secondly, or not secondly, but I should say along with this, they have to for the protection of the voters in Texas. The reason that I keep coming back to this, and then we're going to talk about it because it's going to be here, I understand that some might see this as a distraction, but it's not a distraction. This is real business that they're going to drag us into. The Republicans want to steal seats. They want to take seats, however it's being phrased. They want to capture seats because they can do it. So, I guess in my crazy brain, I don't fault them for trying to do what they can do. But at the same time, guess what? The Democrats can block this by not being there so that a quorum can assemble. They're both within their rights to do what they're doing. So you've heard a couple of clips where I've talked about where the person in the clip has talked about how close some of the votes are, and then on a federal level. When we have Congresswoman Robin Kelly on, I'll probably venture into asking her about the closeness of votes and why what's going on in Texas is so incredibly important, because it doesn't just impact us impact on a state level, meaning Texas. It has national impact. That's why it's as important as anything else right now. It has national impact. So we're going to take a tiny quick break so Henry can do a little transition. And then when we come back, we're going to go right into an interview that I was able to do with the CEO of the LBJ Foundation, given the historical events of this week. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back and we'll go right to our pre-recorded event.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the lower 90s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74. Saturday, sunshine, high of 93 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for showers and storms, a high of 91. Monday, chance for rain and storms, high of 87. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 76.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views on WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Chu's Views, Progressives. On August 6, 1965, one of my presidential heroes, controversial, big dude, big voice, big man that made a lot of changes at a very critical time in this nation's history, also known as Lyndon Baines Johnson, as my father used to always say, signed into law the most significant laws at the time for me as a little boy, but certainly as our country has developed and as our country has tried to move forward, was Lyndon Baines Johnson's signature legislation of the Civil Rights Movement. And that Voting Rights Act of 1965 just had its 60th anniversary this week. And we're honored this morning to have with us the president and CEO of the LBJ Foundation, and that's Mark Updegrove. Mark, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Thanks so much for having me, Richard. Good to be with you.
Absolutely. Great to be with you as well. I could probably talk about LBJ for a long, long time. I have. He was the first president that I became familiar with after, JFK's assassination and all the things that went with that. So I have this interesting sort of perspective about former President Johnson due to the fact that, yes, the civil rights time and the Voting Rights Act, but I also because he was he became the president at a time when the country was in need of leadership, in need of hearts being held and pieces pulled back together. And as a little bit of a tiny historian, I always remember that, and oftentimes marked through the eyes of my father, who is a black man that migrated from Mississippi to Chicago right after World War II and watched all the transitional things that were taking place. He was a part of it. He was part of Jim Crow. He was part of the South coming to the North. He was part of all of those things from 45 to 65 that made him really understand and share with me as I got older the importance of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. As a president of and CEO of the LBJ Foundation, what does it mean to you to be the head of that organization?
You know, Richard, I years ago had written a couple books and came to the attention of the National Archives, and they were looking for a director of the John F. Kennedy Library, and they called me and asked if I was interested in becoming the director. And I said, yeah, I'm a great admirer of President Kennedy, but LBJ is my guy. If LBJ's directorship, the directorship of the LBJ Library ever becomes available, then please give me a call. I'm your guy. A couple of years later, there was a vacancy, and I got the job as the director of the LBJ Library, which is the public side of the public-private partnership that is the LBJ Presidential Library. But the reason I wanted it, and I think you could probably appreciate this, your dad too, is because Lyndon Johnson was largely underappreciated. He was undervalued as a president. I think there were very few people who understood his legacy and the extent to which we live in LBJ's America. That doesn't mean that there weren't colossal failures during the administration. There's, of course, Vietnam, which is a major pillar of LBJ's legacy. But if you look at the sheer breadth of what he accomplished legislatively, including the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, which you mentioned, you can't help but to concede that Lyndon Johnson molded modern America as much as any president. And that's what I wanted to highlight. What Lyndon Johnson, this paragon of power, did to push America forward and help us to meet our most basic promises as a nation.
One of the things that I used to think about when I was growing up, and you know, I professionally and as a grown man, a geek out on certain things that because of how they impacted me and the decisions that I made as I got older. But I remember thinking that there are people that I would have wanted to have been around and learn from in terms of presidents. He was one of them, and largely because he was a tall man. I'm a tall guy. He used his physical attributes to a good reason. Some people say he was very threatening and but there was a reason that he was pushing for that. And as a Southerner and as a guy that used a lot of language that a lot of folks didn't like, I think one of the things that, to your point, that don't often get talked about is that he really wanted to be a champion for social change. He knew, and I think that because of the lens of a Southerner, he saw a lot of the discrimination, both racial, cultural, gender discrimination that was taking place in the country. And he wanted to see social reform. And that's something that, as I was growing up, and, you know, he and my dad were chronological contemporaries, being born in the first decade of the 1900s. So that was also another thing. I kind of looked at it and said that my father's a fan of his, and my dad isn't always right. But if my dad is a fan of LBJ, then I think I can probably learn some things. Do you run across people that say things like that? I know that's my nerd moment professionally, but do you ever run across people, being that you're the CEO and president of this historical body of work, that say things like that you know they would have appreciated being around him or in his presence?
Yeah, you do. You get that a lot. I think the more people know, the more people appreciate LBJ. There are so many, as I sort of alluded to earlier, who don't understand this president. They might understand one or two aspects about him. They might know that he was chiefly, I mean, he wasn't responsible for Vietnam, but he certainly elevated the conflict. He got America further and further involved in the war by escalating it with troop involvement. But they just don't understand who he was. But those who really understand history and understand those times, they really have a deep appreciation for Lyndon Johnson. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, he is so complex. He's so paradoxical. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things. He's just a fascinating personality. Bill Moyers, who just recently died and was a protege of Lyndon Johnson's. Bill would eventually he was an aide to Vice President Johnson, and then an aide to President Johnson would become his press secretary. He once said of LBJ, he's 13 of the most interesting personalities I've ever met. And it's true. I mean, he's incredibly complex. And that's one aspect of his the fascination that we have for him. The other is he's a paragon of power. He had this instinctive understanding of power. Part of that was understanding the legislative process and the way things work. And the other thing was understanding human psychology and how you can get somebody to your side of things. You mentioned the physicality with which LBJ would apply what was called the Johnson treatment, but he also understood the issues. He also understood the psychology of people he was talking to. I think they factor into his ability to get them over to his side as well. And you know, lastly, it's just a very the times in which he governed are just so interesting. They're the most, I think, relevant times politically and culturally of the 20th century that we can relate to today. So there are many reasons that I think Lyndon Johnson remains a subject of fascination, and those are among them.
And I think that's the remains part of the fascination. And I use phrases that I know, and two of the more popular ones that are associated with him or with regards to this Voting Rights Act is that, you know, the statement that was said to him that, you know, we've lost the South for a generation. And to a great extent, it was already lost. It's just a question of perspective. That's one. And then the other one, of course, is infamous or famous, depending on how you look at it, that if you convince a white Southerner or white man that they are essentially not as low as the black man, you can pick his pockets for life. I'm paraphrasing, but there's meaning behind those that tie into what he was trying to represent. I think when you hear those two, and those are two of the big ones, there are many others, and you as a historian know that. How do those impact you today when we look at where we are in this society? Well, the first one, let me give you it goes back to the Civil Rights Act and the cost of pushing through the Civil Rights Act. So Lyndon Johnson was warned by his friend and mentor, a staunch segregationist, but a towering figure in the Senate, George Russell, senator from Georgia, that if he tried to push the Civil Rights Act through. Let me just step back for a second, Richard, and give some context to this. John F. Kennedy had proposed the Civil Rights Act in 1963, in June of 1963. He didn't put much weight behind it, but it was largely symbolic. And then Kennedy is assassinated a little over 6 months later, and LBJ realizes as an accidental president, but with the power of the presidency, that he can push that through, invoking the martyrdom of Kennedy, and he does it. And his aides warn him that he shouldn't do it, and so does Richard Russell. This giant figure in the Senate who had been a champion of Lyndon Johnson's and helped him to rise through the Senate to minority whip, minority leader, and then majority leader, perhaps the most powerful majority leader in the history of the U.S. Senate. And Russell tells him, look, you can probably do this. Jack Kennedy couldn't, but you can. But I'm going to warn you, if you do push this through, you risk losing the South to the Republicans, and you risk losing the presidency in your own right when you run in 1964. And LBJ, who is this creature of power,
listens to his friend and says, if that is the price for this bill, I will gladly pay it. And I guess to answer your question, Richard, that's political courage.
Yep.
And we don't see a lot of it today.
Come on, Mark.
Right? You wonder why these Republicans who are seeing the disintegration of our democracy and the future of their children and grandchildren in peril aren't standing up and making a statement and putting it all on the line to do something that will prevent this disaster from playing out. So that's what it says to me, Richard, that first thing.
On the second thing, which is less about the politicians and more about the individual voters and individual members of our society, how does that impact you now when we look at segregation, when we look at some of the discrimination that's taking place, some of the redistricting, the gerrymandering, and all the rest, as part of the conversation and the separation that our country is feeling right now?
What Lyndon Johnson understood is that racism, that nativism, is endemic to who we are, and I think it might be endemic to human nature. It's not just a trait that Americans have. It's there's a basic tribal nature in human psychology, and he understood that. We have to understand part of the complexity of LBJ is that he toed the line on Jim Crow segregation when he was in the House of Representatives and in the beginning of his tenure as a senator. And he did so for pragmatic reasons. It was totally practical. You couldn't be a viable elected official in the state of Texas if you didn't toe the line on Jim Crow. But when he had the power, particularly when he was in the Senate, he started going his own way on race, and I think he was following his heart at that point. So that's why Lyndon Johnson is somewhat complex. But he did understand that racism was endemic. But he also, and you can hear this in the taped telephone conversations that are kind of the crown jewel of the LBJ Presidential Library. LBJ taped about over 600 hours of phone conversations that he had with various people who mattered, lawmakers, Martin Luther King, mayors, governors, business leaders. And, you can hear in those conversations that he also, I think, understands that the American people are ultimately pretty fair, which is why he encourages Martin Luther King to wage the civil rights movement, to generate awareness about the systemic oppression and suppression of people of color in this country. He wants King to succeed in his quest to show Americans what's happening, because he knows that if Americans see that, then they won't stand for it. And that's exactly what happened. You talked about the Voting Rights Act earlier, which we celebrated the 60th anniversary of earlier this week. Well, the reason that you get the Voting Rights Act is because of Bloody Sunday, that standoff that civil rights marchers led by John Lewis have against Alabama state troopers who brutally thwart that march and almost kill John Lewis. Americans see that and they say, we can't stand for that in this country. And that gives LBJ the opportunity to push through the Voting Rights Act.
And that's one of the things that, as a little boy, I was made to watch and made to watch. The statement's been used, and I know you're fully aware of this, that had it not been for some of that visual, that other parts of the country, liberal, middle of the road independents would not have stepped to the message that that's not who we say we are. And that was driven largely because of Bloody Sunday and then other things that followed, even to the extent of President Johnson using in his speech the words, "we shall overcome." And so the historical perspectives there are just, monumental. Let me ask you another, talk about the recordings. And again, this is me nerding out with you on this in a good way. The Nixon recordings, I mean, what was taking place during Vietnam, and people look at LBJ and drop that in his lap as it relates to that what went wrong, what we shouldn't have been doing, et cetera, and all the other castigations on that. But he's also very clear about what Nixon was doing and should not have been doing as we were working our way through this, that, borderlined on treason in LBJ's language when he was, God, I just drew a blank on who he was talking to, but help us out with that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think what you're alluding to, Richard, is 1968 when LBJ was trying to get a peace agreement with the North Vietnamese, which necessitated ensuring that the South Vietnamese were at the peace table, and the South Vietnamese were reluctant to go into those agreements. So were the North Vietnamese to a large degree. But Nixon sends an emissary, Anna Chennault, who was the wife of Claire Chennault, who was the squadron leader of the Flying Tigers in World War II, to urge the South Vietnamese to refrain from those talks because they would get a better deal if he were president. So he takes that away from Johnson, and really some might say that it had an effect on the outcome of the 1968 election. It's certainly a violation of the treason of the Logan Act,
right?
And we're relatively certain that, based on the historical record, that Nixon was a part of that. Can I go back, Richard, to what you just said a moment ago, and you talked about the racism flaring up that we see today, and I think we talked about political courage, but Franklin Roosevelt once described the office of the presidency as preeminently a place of moral leadership. And you're absolutely right about Lyndon Johnson. After Bloody Sunday, he gives this speech that I think is one of the most unheralded speeches in presidential history, and certainly his rhetorical high point, in which, to your point, he invokes those words, "We shall overcome," knowing that that's the anthem of the civil rights movement, and that leaders like Martin Luther King and those on the front lines of the civil rights movement are going to hear that and know that the president is on their side. That was a major thing. Imagine if, after the murder of George Floyd, Donald Trump said, "Black Lives Matter." That would have made a profound difference in this country, because black people would have known that
at least he said it. At least he said it. Whether he believed it or not, different story. But at least he said it. In fact, he went the other direction, and that took no courage to go the other direction. That was the easy route out.
That's exactly right.
Mark, what we're going to do is have you back on the show because there's so many other questions that I want to ask you about LBJ, about the library, and we could get into more and more about the library today, but I wanted to take the time in this first meeting to have this part of the conversation, given that it's on the heels of, or the week of the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. But I definitely want to have you back to help us and help our audience all over the country get a better appreciation for the historical importance of LBJ, but also of strong leadership, courageous leadership. I think that right now is such an opposite to what we have, not just with the presidency, with Donald Trump specifically, but also with the GOP at large. And I could even go as far as saying some in the Democratic Party. I'm just going to say it as truthful as I try to be. But I definitely would like to have you back to talk about some of the historical things that you've learned over your years in time, to speak to some of the things that a lot of people are wondering. Why don't we have courageous leadership right now? And give us your 2-minute drill on why you think we don't have that type of courageous leadership coming from Washington or coming from state legislatures and all the rest.
Well, there are a number of reasons, and that might necessitate a longer conversation.
I know. I set you up the wrong way on that one, but just in your quick observation, and then we'll make time to do this again so we can delve into that, because I know you've got some historical perspectives to that question.
I think it's principally because of and this is apropos to what's going on in Illinois right now with the Democratic lawmakers from Texas. You have them there so they can prevent a quorum that would redistrict much of Texas. Redistricting, which both Democrats and Republicans are guilty of across the country, have created safe districts for one or the other party. And that has bred a sort of extremism in the ranks. And we don't have people who are in the middle of the road any longer. I think that is a major problem. The bigger problem is the fragmentation of the media landscape, and that there is misinformation and disinformation that can be pervaded very, very easily.
That is so very true. To a couple of perspectives. One that I wanted to make sure I asked you, because she was a name that we heard at the time, and that's Lady Bird Johnson. How, in your study and your observation, what type of impact do you think, or do you know, she had on some of the decisions that LBJ made, or some of the conversations that he had with the nation?
I think she had a profound impact on Lyndon Johnson. Whether she affected his decisions or not, I can't say. Certainly there were certain examples of that. But I think what Lady Bird Johnson did, principally her biggest, or most important, the most important aspect of her legacy is that she was able to get the best from her very psychologically complex husband. You know, there were demons that roamed the consciousness of Lyndon Johnson unfettered, and Lady Bird Johnson was able to ward them off and summon his better angels, so that he was able to do the most that he could for his country during the 5 years and 2 months that he was in office. And that breadth of legislation that I mentioned, and I should probably enumerate some of his other accomplishments, are largely, in some ways, because she was able to get the very best from her husband. She was able to calm him and bring out his best qualities during the course of his presidency. I think that is her principal accomplishment as First Lady.
What do you think, Mark, would have happened where we might be had he decided to go ahead and then won that next term?
I don't know. I think one of the things, so as you're referring to LBJ's decision on March 31st, 1968, or his announcement at that time to not seek the party's nomination or, another term as president. And I think, he was principally concerned about his health. Mm-hmm. He had had a near-fatal heart attack in 1955 at the age of 47. His father and grandfather both died of heart ailments at the age of 62. He was painfully aware of his mortality, and he opted not to run because he didn't want to put the country through a health crisis. And as it stood, he died 4 years and 2 days after leaving office. So had he, all things being equal, gotten another term in office, he would have died 2 days later. Yeah. So I think that was the main reason. He was worn down by Vietnam. But as Lady Bird Johnson said, I gave him credit for stepping aside, knowing that even if he won, he would have torn the country further asunder. Yeah. He would have created greater divisions. And I think that's probably right. I think he probably would have won, and I'm in a minority on that, because his war policy didn't differ much from Nixon's. But I think it would have created greater divisions and made it very hard for him to garner political capital that he could spend in a second term.
Yeah, there's so much more to talk to you about that, and unfortunately, that's the time that I was as a child observing a lot of this, and then we went through what we went through in the early 70s. So it's been very impactful. Mark, you've been phenomenal to talk with, and I just am thankful that you were able to take some time away and be with us this morning. Our audience appreciates it. The foundation that you are the president and CEO, that being the LBJ Foundation, definitely appreciates your leadership, your creativity, and your big heart in the work that you do. So thank you for being with us this morning. How can folks follow you, follow the organization, and just let folks know how they can do that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on Exit. Mark Updegrove, and you can follow the LBJ Library on social, or the LBJ Foundation. Both there are two different accounts on all different social media platforms, and we also have a national PBS program called Live from the LBJ Library with Mark Updegrove, and including a recent interview with Andrew Young about the very things we're talking about, which is just a fascinating exploration of his life and his view on the world today.
Yeah, he's fascinating. He's an amazing human being. And you can become a member as well, right?
Yeah, you can become a member of the Friends of the LBJ Library, and it's a fantastic program. We have some of the best public programming, I think, in the nation. I think because LBJ saw his library as a living, breathing thing, and he wanted not only to look at the past and the very consequential era in which he was president, but he also wanted to be a public square, a place where we could talk about the issues of our day. So that's very important to what we do.
Absolutely. Mark Updegrove, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. We're going to have you back, man. So just keep your calendar open, because we'll be making the call to say, let's do this all over again. But we appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you for what you do. Look forward to another time on the program.
Sounds good, man. Have a great rest of the day. Bye now.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it was really great speaking with Mark Updegrove, who is the CEO of the Lyndon Baines Johnson Center. And just there's so much that I could say post this interview. And I took a moment to chat with Mark after we did this segment yesterday. It was a great conversation, great interview, and he was phenomenal. And I was honored to talk with him. And I say that not as a thing of deference, but just a historical perspective of this week. We've got to remember the current administration wants to rid us of the positive and the negative aspects of our history. The negative, because it shines a light on what people have done to other folks in our society, and that they want to erase those negative things so that it makes the folks in power look like they're wonderful and perfect and blessed by God to always be that way. The positives are the things like the administration, like the act being signed by Lyndon Johnson, who was a Dixiecrat, but he understood, to Mark's point, how to navigate, and he made a change, if you will. He knew what he needed to do to really be an advocate for social change and to empower people. He was a strong advocate of Dr. King. Now, listen, I know there's people out there that are saying, yeah, it's you, but Lyndon did this and said that. I get that. I truly do. Okay? I got to watch it from the shoelaces of my father and mother observing during that time. So I get that. I understand. But I'm taking the better angels part of the conversation for me in terms of this was a president that stood in the void on something that was necessary. I got an interesting text that I want to read real quickly before we hit this break. What an irony. LBJ from Texas moved our country to a more democratic country with the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Amendments. And yet, we have a felon and adjudicated rapist from New York working to bring us back to the 19th century with all the prejudice and unlawful practices against blacks. Thank you, Nancy. That is so well written and so spot on. But kudos to Mark for being with us, but also for the work that he's doing with the foundation. Check them out. We're going to take a break. When we come back, it's Friday. You know what's happening. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo Mobile phone and text line, and we will be right back.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Get early access to Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. 25% off the i8 bed, our most popular. Plus free home delivery. Limited time. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Contemplating laser vision correction?
Dr. Neil Martin of Bethesda, Maryland says a doctor will have to check to make sure it will work for you.
The prime condition that would exclude somebody from having LASIK is a corneal condition called keratoconus, in which the front curved lens of the eye, the cornea, transparent covering of the eye, becomes cone-like. It becomes too steep and too thin. And we've learned that there are many people who have mild forms of keratoconus, which was not known. And if they get lasered, you end up further thinning and structurally diminishing a cornea that may degrade by itself over time. We do a simple test called a topo or topography to try to exclude those people from having laser vision correction.
Other conditions that may prevent you from having the surgery include glaucoma, severely dry eyes, and extremely poor sight. Check with your ophthalmologist for more. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious, with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. The Trump administration is doubling its reward to $50 million for the arrest of Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro. The U.S. government accuses him of being one of the world's largest narco-traffickers and working with cartels to flood the U.S. with fentanyl-laced cocaine. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz says his country will not authorize any exports of military equipment that could be used in Gaza until further notice. AP correspondent Lawrence Brooks has the details.
Germany has been a stalwart supporter of Israel for decades, but the decision comes after the Israeli cabinet announced plans to take over Gaza City. In a statement, Merz said Israel has the right to defend itself against Hamas's terror, and that the release of Israeli hostages and purposeful negotiations towards a ceasefire are top priorities. But Merz added harsher military action by the Israeli army in the Gaza Strip makes it increasingly difficult for the German government to see how these goals could be achieved. Germany says it's deeply concerned about the suffering of civilians in Gaza and has called on Israel to allow comprehensive access for aid deliveries. The German government has also called on Israel to not take any further steps towards annexing the West Bank. I'm Lawrence Brooks.
President Trump says he'll meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's even if Putin won't meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. A statement from Putin says he hopes to meet with Trump next week. The husband of a woman convicted of killing 3 people with a meal laced with deadly mushrooms suspected his wife had been poisoning him for more than a year. Today, a judge in Australia lifted a gag order on pretrial evidence that Erin Patterson had wanted kept secret while she attempts to overturn her convictions. This evidence included statements from her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, saying she had previously tried to kill him. This is AP News. The world's 40th ranked golfer is on top of the pack after a career best round in the playoff opener.
Akshay Bhatia is 1 shot clear of the field after the first round of the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoff opener.
Today I felt pretty relaxed, and I'm not trying to I'm just not trying to force anything.
Bhatia carded an opening 8 under par 62 at the FedEx St. Jude Championship at TPC Southwind in Memphis.
It's a ball striker's golf course. I think statistically, guys who have won here in the past, it's about ball striking off the tee.
Tommy Fleetwood is 1 shot back in solo second after shooting 63. World number 1 and regular season FedEx Cup points leader Scotty Scheffler is 5 shots back and a tie for 12. Masters champion Rory McIlroy, who finished the regular season second in the FedEx Cup standings, skipped the playoff opener for a 3rd time. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the lower 90s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74. Saturday, sunshine, high of 93 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for showers and storms, a high of 91. Monday, chance for rain and storms, high of 87. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 75.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards.
paints. Get a premium finish with less odor and fumes for your painting project with Rust-Oleum's low-odor spray paint. It provides a long-lasting, durable finish, making it perfect for indoor or outdoor projects. Save big on Rust-Oleum spray paints, now at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
From the headlines to the heart of the city, Richard Chew breaks it all down. You're back on Chew's Views on WCPT 820.
Welcome back, folks. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to David Orr, former Cook County clerk and Chicago alderman and founder of Good Government Illinois. Emma Fisher, Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer at Climate Cabinet, and Dr. Susanna Flores will be calling in from Netroots Nation in Nolens with updates. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest co-hosts Alicia Molina and Soli Santos, and their guests will include Sarah Burry, Democratic candidate for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT. Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Monday, Rich Logis from Leaving MAGA will be with us along with his guest, Danny Collins, talking about a group that's making some changes. Next week, we've got all of our regular folks that will be with us. Michelle Duster will probably stop in for a bit as well to chat a little bit about some upcoming events. So there you go. Make sure you are tuned in to what we're doing here at CPT and Heartland Signal. If you haven't already, you can follow Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at heartlandsignal.com. And please make sure to check heartlandsignal.com for daily updates. All right. It's Friday. You know, today is one of those palindrome days, 8808. There we go. Take the zero out. But yeah, it's there, 8808. For those of you who don't know, just look it up because I don't want to take up any more time. Welcome to the show, Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Richard Chew from Chew's Views.
You're very welcome. So when Karen came in, she came in blazing, but in a good way, because she had some thoughts and observations that I'll let her share with you about the interview that I did with Mark Updegrove of the LBJ Foundation, and tying that into some observations that you've been making for a long, long time about this conversation of bias and racism and sexism, but also the other side of that for some people, which Lyndon did, which was evolve.
Yes. Right. And so, when I was listening to the interview, I think that we as progressives, sometimes we get in our own ways with a lot of this stuff. With the exception, of course, genocide, slavery, those are over here. But I feel that, our culture evolves. The movies that I watched when I was coming of age are not, my kids watched them with me and they were like, Mom, oh my gosh. It just doesn't translate into today. And just as, we have politicians and, celebrities that they behaved in the culture the way they had to behave in the culture, and they had to navigate certain things. And so I really appreciated Mark's speaking to the fact that when he gained more power, he was able to be more outspoken and speak his heart rather than just kind of go along to get along. And,
He didn't. When he got, and this is what I learned listening to my father, but also watching and understanding what Johnson was trying to do. Once he got into a more weighty level of power, he wielded it differently than he did when he was in a state or when he was as a member of the House.
Right.
He, as a senator, became much more vocal, and even Mark said
different terrain.
Almost pivoted. He went in his own direction.
Right.
And I thought that was really a good illumination.
Yeah.
And then what Mark said also about kind of furthering to what your point is, and that I asked him the question, why don't we have that kind of leadership now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do have it to some extent on the left.
Sure.
And, Johnson was one that I use this phrase a lot, and Eric and I use it a lot, about coming in a room and knocking over some tables. He almost literally was that person.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I believe, leadership in some ways a lot of people on the left are asking for.
Well,
We've got those people.
We definitely have those people. Just, the young people that are coming up are Eric Swalwell is one of those people. I think Hakeem Jeffries, Hakeem Jeffries has to walk a little bit differently just because of the fact that he's a black man, right?
Well,
and
and
Barack
also,
Obama. Barack Obama, and I think that's the thing. You can't come in and knock over tables when you are not,
here's the thing:
a white man, honestly.
I can speak to this very, very passionately. There is a part of us as black men that we know what we need to do, what we want to do, and sometimes they don't always get a chance to touch toes at the same time, and that's because of, unfortunately, some of the indoctrination. I will be that we've had to, acknowledge and deal with. Dr. King talked about this a lot. That we've got to be able to be at the table. The comparison. And I just saw this great piece the other day on Malcolm, who was more of one that took a more active role in knocking over the tables.
Right.
Is when they look at all. I've said this so many times because I watched it real time. When those men and women were coming together from different factions, Bobby Kennedy, Malcolm, Medgar, and Dr. King, when they were coming together, they became the bigger threat.
That's right.
To the power players at the time. They were a huge step because they realized that the other side of what LBJ was saying about picking the pockets phrase was about to be taken apart, because now white folks that were middle and lower income white folks were realizing, hey, we're getting robbed not by the black folks or the folks of color. We've been getting robbed by these guys over here. When that became illuminated and those four leaders were talking about it, they all got assassinated.
Exactly right. And I mean, it's the same thing that's happening now. I'm just waiting for MAGA to wake up. But I mean, I think they're just so far into the cult, and they're just, they are just so steeped and rooted into their racism.
Yeah. Well, and listen, what did he didn't say nationalism, he said nativism. Mark did.
Yeah.
There's a certain part. Listen, fear is a screwy thing. But at some point you got to get over your fear. You got to work through your fear. You got to partner with others that can help you get through the fear. We all have points where we are fearful of something or concerned about something, whatever the word may be that best suits you. And rather than but. And
when it's irrational.
Right. You've got to be willing to look at that and ask the question, where is this coming from? Is it what I really believe or feel, or is it something that somebody put on me?
Right.
And right now, that, to your point, it's irrational because this is being put on people, and they're not being smart enough or courageous enough to say, no, I don't want any part of that because I know it's a lie.
Right.
And I know it's not truthful. And I know it comes from a place where people are trying to persuade me to think and be like them.
Yes. And I think it's important. That's when it becomes important when we speak to people like that, if we speak to people like that.
I know. You should have seen Karen's eyes like, do we really want to be talking about those
That's
people?
a big challenge right now. But if we do speak to them, or if you're encountered by it, let's say, then ask the question, because a lot of times when you start asking them questions and they have to say it out loud, they have to listen to themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's when the light bulb goes on that, oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Don't get Karen wrong. She's not saying go out there and look for those people.
I'm not suggesting that at all.
We're not openly running a class on getting MAGA's head right. We'll let Rich Logis from Leaving MAGA do that.
He can fix that problem.
And he's doing a good job at it. But we're not saying that. We're saying that when it comes, you do have to be prepared to talk about two sides. One side is what your current party, Republicans, MAGAs, GOPers, are doing. It doesn't really make sense, one. And the other side of that is to be prepared to speak about the things that the Democratic Party is doing. So I'm going to hold the point for a second, but I just want to make this, just mention this. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 here in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County in North Carolina. And of course, I'm Richard Chu. We're talking to our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. Karen, so we know one side of this conversation is being prepared to stand up and ask questions of the quote unquote other side and pull a little bit of LBJ's manner to the conversation. Mm-hmm. The other side of that is, and you posted something really great that I really felt was spot on. Karen posted a Project 2028, which is a list. And you guys, what really caught me about this is I'm always like, laundry list. Mm-hmm. Laundry list.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what you put out in terms of things that we need to be prepared to correct.
So, and this is something, of course, I did not make this up, but it was something that I found on Facebook, and it is Project 2028. There's a laundry list of things that should be our focus and our goals. So I can just go through these, yeah?
Yep.
Overturn Citizens United, codify women's right to choose, term limits for SCOTUS, get rid of the Electoral College, please. Outlaw gerrymandering nationwide, which Democrats actually have tried to do.
Yep.
Ranked choice voting in all elections, return fairness doctrine in media, universal health care for all, ban stock trading while in Congress, cap Congress salary at 1.5 times median income of their district, cap CEO pay, 35 times lowest paid full-time employee, tax billionaires out of existence, here. Tax unrealized gains used as loan collateral, tax mega churches, yes, increase federal minimum wage to $20 an hour.
Did you hear the young woman, Victoria Martz, who was on Wednesday with Kurt Mullett, talking about the importance of the federal minimum wage going up to $20 to $25, and then her idea about the subsidy for small businesses, so that if we changed a couple of these things in here in terms of the financial side, we have more than enough money right now,
absolutely,
to provide the subsidy to small businesses so that they can raise their wage for their employees.
Absolutely.
But imagine if we took three of the ones that you just mentioned in terms of repositioning those tax dollars.
Because they're going to small business owners are actually going to reinvest those dollars into their business. Unlike the
stock
massive,
buybacks.
Yes, exactly. That's what we saw with the tax scam the first time around.
Absolutely, in 2017. Y'all remember that? That was also another bad policy from Donald Trump and Paul Ryan, who was Speaker at the time.
Yep.
So let's take a short little turn to the right. Our good friend Kurt from Akron, Ohio. Kurt Hunter from Akron, Ohio wants to chat for a moment. Hey, good morning, Kurt. Welcome to the show.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me I'm MAGA because you said I'm switching to the right?
No, turning to the right to make our way to Ohio. But, okay, we turn to the left.
The left.
All right, I'll stand like I'm looking at the map inverted, and we're going to turn left and go to Ohio.
We're going left.
There we go.
Okay.
I had to clean that up.
We got to head south, and then we got to go. Yeah.
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 Good morning,
go
Kurt.
Up to Wisconsin. Yeah, go up to Wisconsin through whatever. Yeah. Anywho, you made some good reference there, and Karen, you might be able to back me up on this too. But Richard, you have those MAGA converters that are on your show every now and then?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Rich, yep.
Yes, I do.
Do you remember what I texted you during your little segment recording there where I said the great thing about LBJ during the 1960s is he is the only politician that could speak both Kennedy fluently and speak Southern fluently.
Yeah.
So we need to get more MAGAs who can speak MAGA fluently but also speak normal fluently in order to get the idea through to some of these people. and maybe find some kind of a happy medium somewhere.
Yeah, the thing that I look at sometimes is, that, like I said to Karen, and we both agree on this, that the Rich Logises of the world, who will be with us on Monday, is the person, he started Leaving MAGA, and Rich is doing a great job in that space. I have to give him his flowers there. But at the same time, I don't think that we as progressive liberal Democrats should be out searching for the MAGAs to change.
I will not.
Yeah, they need to come to us. Right, and not skip over the people who need, like I said before, you've heard me say this a bunch of times, that 36% that didn't vote, we need to spend our time getting them back into the game rather than skipping over them to get to that, that sort of mythical MAGA voter that's going to vote for us or vote for our ideas this time. But your point is well made. When there is someone that evolves, Kurt, we want to use them to death to make them for them to speak to their people, to get them to come through. And frankly, that's kind of what Rich is doing.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, because I have no idea that mindset.
No.
I can't even go there. That is like way too crazy and dark for me.
And I think it helped. And I think it helped too that Lyndon Johnson was a Southern bigot for a period of his time.
He did. He knew the code.
He knew the code, and then he got involved with the Kennedys. He knew how to play the game with the Kennedys in the early '60s. And to be honest with you, they didn't care about civil rights until it actually started hitting home in Alabama, when they started seeing police dogs chewing up on young children and police hoses spraying young children during a protest. That's when it really started to hit home to them. They kind of put it on the back burner.
The power of the media. Were it not for the fact that those cameras were there, and I can speak to this as a little boy at the time, and the things that happened. Exactly. It was evident that the media had a huge impact on northern, northeastern, and western white America.
And then, of course, people like Bob Dole, who back then were good Republicans, voted for in the House of Representatives. House of Representatives, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 as well as 68, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and he supported getting rid of the poll tax by the 24th Amendment.
Yep. So that's the point of why we and Kurt, thanks for the call this morning. We got to grab a couple. We're going to try to grab a couple others. Thanks, man. But I think that's why we do our best to be an inclusive tent. And like Victoria said on Wednesday, we got some holes in the tent. We know that. I think the best thing is knowing that we have the holes in the tent, but still working to expand it.
And I think that the most important thing that's been going on is all of us putting pressure on our elected Democrats and the leadership to start fighting differently. And I mean, hats off to all you Texas Democrats that are up here in Illinois. Hats off to you, because, I mean, seriously.
They got a bench, too.
They sure do have a bench. And, what people don't understand, and I heard a few people this past week say something like, if I left my job and I did, what they're doing, I'd be fired. Well, the reality of the situation is everything that they're doing is totally legal. They are doing their jobs.
And ultimately, right, that's the part they're
doing their jobs.
That's where a lot of the reporters are dropping the ball.
That's right.
They're not asking that full question and incorporating the fact that they're doing their job, which means, that's why I said yesterday when I played those clips that I wish that Breonna Keeler had done this and been prepared for what this dude might say. I wish that the other reporter on the Hill had been prepared and shut that guy down, Morrison. Right. And but Texas Representative Ann Johnson, she wasn't going to have it. She turned it back around on the CBS report and said, no, we are doing our job.
That's absolutely. They're protecting their constituents. They're protecting their voters.
And those of the rest of the country.
That's right.
And she's been very, very unapologetic and matter of fact about that, which I really have loved. And we're working to get her on the show next week. But here's the other part too, and let's see how we're doing on time. We're tight on time. Let's can we grab? Can we take a call? We have a certain special guest that I want to get on. Can we get the one call, Henry? Hey, good morning, Anita. Welcome to the show.
Anita from San Antonio.
Good morning.
How are you?
Hi, Karen.
Hello.
I'm fine. I just love the conversation you were having about LBJ.
Yep.
And I didn't get to catch all of it because Karen told me you guys were talking about it, and I just turned it on, and it was just fascinating. I love LBJ. I've gone to his library several times there in Austin, and it's amazing. But I just have to say, not only did he sign the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, but he opened up immigration.
Yep.
Because we had all these discriminatory immigration laws that in 1965 he signed the Immigration and Naturalization Act, which opened up immigration to all these non-white countries, which we were not allowing in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, that was why we wouldn't even let those the St. Louis that held all those Jewish children.
Oh, right.
Yes, that's right.
Oh.
Yep, it got turned away.
Yeah, so this is
got turned away.
This is where when we look at history. I said this at the beginning, and I'll say it again, Anita. And thank you for chiming in this morning. The importance of talking about the negative and the positive of history is critically important to the development of our country. And right now, the GOP, the guardians of pedophiles, the MAGAs, and even those what we'll call middle of the road moderate Republicans don't want to do that because they know that, one, it puts a light on them for the things that they've supported over decades, and at the same time it puts a positive light on all the strides that we've made. They can't show that, Anita, because when they do, then it really does say that the country is a progressive country. There's more of them than there are. There's more of us than there are of them.
Yeah, we are a progressive country, and I think the kind of backlash that we saw with Trump was a backlash. Was basically a backlash because we elected the first black president.
Yes,
it is,
and it was almost like it's like the same backlash against the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. Every time we make some strides, then there's going to be a backlash. Unfortunately. Also, we have these kind of purity tests. I think if more people that think like us had actually showed up to vote, we would win because we are the majority.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And so, so we have these kind of purity tests. The same thing happened to LBJ. LBJ was kind of pushed out of the Democratic primary because he saw the writing on the wall in New Hampshire. When he was losing because of the Vietnam War, but now we look back at him and we say, oh my God, look at all the great things he did. But because
in hindsight,
in hindsight now,
same thing
because of the Vietnam.
Yeah, the Vietnam.
I'm sorry?
No. You're good point. There's so many hot points that happened through the war, the lens of the country at the time, and. We were, it was just such a hot time in the country. There was so much happening in the country from a civil rights standpoint and from a human rights standpoint. And I asked Mark this question, Anita, what did he think? Where does he think the country would have been had LBJ run? Again, obviously, health was one of the driving factors why he did not. But I think that we might be in a different place in this country had he run and gotten elected because of the times that we were in and the work that he was getting done.
We wouldn't have Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We wouldn't have Watergate.
I wanted to say, too.
And Nixon expanded the war.
Yeah, he did.
Okay?
More than people wanted.
LBJ was trying to end it.
Yeah.
But there.
Anita, can I ask you something? Because you say this all the time, and it kind of brings it to today because what's always being said about the Democratic Party lost the working class?
The Democratic Party did not abandon the white working class. The white working class abandoned the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Anita.
And they abandoned it. They abandoned it after the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. I have my mother-in-law say, "Oh, the last Democrat I ever voted for was Kennedy." Well, of course, because she was a racist. I mean, she was from West Virginia.
Not that West Virginia is a racist. No.
Yes, I don't want to say that, please.
No, that's a great.
But all racists in West Virginia voted for Trump.
Here's a bigger
exactly
point,
right.
and we got to hit this break because we've got Congresswoman coming up in a moment. But
let me just say say real quick, LBJ, he's just so fascinating. I've been to his ranch and everything, and it's just beautiful. And back then, with a couple of times when I went there, Lady Bird was still living there.
Yeah.
And you take this little tour, and he used to drive over this little, like this little bridge and play Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. I always remember that.
Got
that
it.
was his favorite song.
Cool. Anita, thanks for the call in this morning. We're going to take a quick break,
Talk
guys.
to you later.
The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Use on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway. Because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Warm temperatures are here, so make sure your AC is ready for the heat of the season by calling ARS Rescue Rooter. Take advantage of our $49 HVAC tune-up today by calling 1-800-857-9950 or visiting mydiscounttuneup.com. Regular HVAC maintenance can not only save you money on energy bills, but also on costly repairs. Waiting to service your system until you need to can leave you sweating the consequences. Dial 1-800-857-9950 to avoid the costly repairs that neglecting your system can create. ARS Rescue Rooters professional technicians are available 7 days a week and offer free estimates, so the time to have your system checked is now. Why wait? Call ARS Rescue Rooter to schedule your $49 HVAC tune-up at 1-800-857-9950 or visit mydiscounttuneup.com. That's 1-800-857-9950 today. For terms and conditions, please visit mydiscounttuneup.com.
Call ARS and Rescue Rooter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see sunny skies here for today with a high in the lower 90s. Winds out of the south around 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74. Saturday, sunshine, high of 93 degrees. Then by Sunday, chance for showers and storms, a high of 91. Monday, chance for rain and storms, high of 87. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 77.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
He's not here to yell. He's here to inform and maybe stir the pot. This is Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Kelly. I'm the Congresswoman from the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois. And I'd like to say welcome to all of my Texas colleagues. We want you to know that you are welcome in Illinois. Stay as long as you want. Whatever we can do to make your stay more comfortable, we want to do that because we believe in what you're doing. You are courageous, and we are here to support you. What you're doing and what they're trying to do in Texas affects you guys, but it affects the whole country. When you want to remove 5 Democrats, that hurts us in the House. As you can see what happens now when there's not enough Democrats to stop the big ugly bill and all the other stuff that they've been doing. They are trying to destroy our democracy, destroy fairness in our country, and unfortunately they're starting with Texas.
That would be none other than the great Congresswoman from the 2nd District in Illinois, Robin Kelly. Good morning, Congresswoman, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
And you like to hear yourself on the radio, right?
And I was like, oh, no, I know her.
I know her. I figured it'd put a little smile on your face this morning, given the hell that you all are having to deal with. Good Lord.
Oh, my God.
Congresswoman, thanks for being with us this morning. You are a welcome guest on my show, and I wanted to just kind of give you an opportunity to chat a little bit. There's so much that's happening right now with this that I think the civics lesson here is that hopefully Americans are understanding what gerrymandering and redistricting does, not just to the state that it's happening in, but to the nation. And this big betrayal of a bill got through by a razor-thin margin, and this is an example of why voting, being part of the process, is so critically important. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, my God. I don't know if I could say it better myself. And actually, when the redistricting happened last year, it happened in North Carolina. They did it at the time other people do it, but we lost 3 colleagues, and we lost the majority by 3. So we would have been in the majority this time, but they wiped out 3 Democratic seats in North Carolina. And as you said, with the original vote of the big ugly bill, we lost by 1 vote. And that means some Repubs did cross over, but, we lost 3 colleagues. We had 3 colleagues die. 2 colleagues were sick. Else we would not have lost the bill. When I say sick, I mean one had a stroke.
Right.
One had emergency surgery, so it wasn't, I have a cold. And we've had colleagues travel, just to be there for votes that probably in regular times would not have left the hospital, with one had a IV, and to get back to vote. That's how serious we know this is, and that's how serious we take it. But what happens in other states definitely affects Illinois and affects the whole United States, because when we vote, that affects everybody.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I've spent a pretty good amount of time this week, Congresswoman, on this topic, because it is incredibly important that folks understand it's not, we don't have the luxury any longer, Congresswoman, to say, well, that's over there, they're going to handle that, that's what they're doing in that state.
Right.
We don't have that luxury any longer. We never really had, but I think that now with all the stakes that are involved in this, we have to be mindful. We have to be willing to encourage and support our brothers and sisters in other states, particularly that are state legislators, because they make the laws that state then provide. I'm sorry, I'm doing what you should be doing. I'm just
no. It's just I feel like when Barack Obama was elected the president, I was thrilled too. I served with him, but that we were so enamored who's the president, and we don't think about it's important who your mayor is, who your municipal trustees or council people are, who your commissioner is, who your state rep is, that we need to vote in every election. I know people get sick of hearing it, but it's true, and it's playing out. Right now it's playing out. When you don't vote, what happens? And school board members are important. Schools are the foundation of a community, reason people move in and out. The reason things are getting wiped out in libraries because of school board members. And, I say what you said when it comes to Medicaid. We could say it's happening to the other person, but we will be the other person sooner or later. If a hospital has to close, it doesn't matter if you have Medicaid or not. If you live in that area, that's still your hospital. Yep. So all of us, maybe not if you're in, the top 1% or 5%, but eventually all of us will be affected. It's not the other guy. We will be the other guy at some point. And also, what about humanity? That's the other part of it. What about caring for each other? That's how the system works. We all do better when we all do better, and it is still so unbelievable what's happening. But yeah, we're there for, our brothers and sisters in Texas. They had, it's scary, they had a bomb scare and, all of that. And now more and more legislators are being threatened. And I know in Congress it went from one number, like 1,000 something, up to 9,000 threats, over the last, I believe, 5 years or something like that.
That's crazy. And when we talked last time, you mentioned, I asked you the question, Why is it that the Republicans, and I teased you a little bit about the Congresswoman, they're not your colleagues until they decide to act right.
That's true.
But I asked you the question about why you feel that they are not voting for what they know makes common sense, they know is right for their constituencies. And you did present the fact that they're fearful. They're afraid of what could come to them in terms of not necessarily getting primaried or exclusively that, but the possibility of physical harm. And here we are. We've got folks who are doing what they're allowed to do that are being bomb threatened, because they decide to stand up. So, I mean, intellectually, I get it. But I'm so proud of the folks from Texas. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the governor and all the rest of the folks that are standing with the legislators from Texas to provide them with the support that they need while they navigate. Because this is a bigger picture item. It's not just Texas. So
definitely.
Thank you for that. A question I want to ask you. I got sent this information earlier, and I don't know if you've had a chance, if you've heard this, or if you have a chance to vet it out. So it's that it was seen locally here on a local news channel that the FBI has been given the green light to pick up the Texas Democrats in Illinois. Now, it's my understanding that it's not a federal crime, so the FBI's purview doesn't exist. And furthermore, they can't arrest them anyhow. They can only they can only, quote, discover where they are. They can't technically arrest them because they've not committed a crime that would be on the level of a federal crime. Am I right or wrong about that?
You know what? I haven't seen that last part of what you said. I was aware that the senator in Texas asked for the FBI to arrest them, but it makes sense. They haven't committed a federal crime and everything you're saying, but the only thing is, in this administration,
they don't care.
They don't seem to follow the rules. So maybe, I don't know if they're going to, act upon that. We were told to do this, and Patel told us, and we're just going to do it, whether it's legal or not legal, because they are breaking rules in this administration. So I'm not sure, but the senator is doing that to protect himself. From my understanding, he could be in a very dicey race to keep his seat. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. We're wasting the time of the federal government and using their efforts for something like this.
I said
it is absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and this. So talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. This is a perfect example of waste, fraud, and abuse. And Congresswoman, I've been saying this all week, and we'll be saying it for a while. You and I have a personal understanding as black folks in America that this is a power grab by the GOP that is very deeply racist. When you hear words like round them up, go get them, locating, runaway. Thank you. Okay, I'll shut up and let you take the time now.
No, that's what it seems like. They're coming after them like they're runaway slaves. And at the press conference that I opened up for them, when you played what I said, every one of them talked about this is such a racist move, and that with the gerrymandering, they want to do Latinos and blacks lose so much. The ratio is so bad. I mean, my classmate, a fantastic member of Congress, Mark Beatty, he just told me, I'll be done. I'll be done, because he has Fort Worth, and what they did with Fort Worth, he said there's just no way that he can win. They're going to have colleagues run against each other, and I mean, it's disgusting. That's all I can say. And I'm for fairness, but I said at the press conference, we need to fight fire with fire. I'm a fairness person, but I hope California's ready to go, because, no more butter knife to the gunfight. And if that's what they're going to do, I'm not saying we should forever do it, but, we desperate times call for desperate measures.
And here's the thing. This is I'm a sledgehammer kind of guy, and I will bring a sledgehammer to a knife fight, because I'll wield it with precision. And to that extent, I'll loan you and every other Democratic member of Congress my sledgehammer, or I'll go out and order a whole bunch of them for you, because you're right. We have to fight fire with fire. And so I want to ask you that question, which you've already introduced to the conversation, about what other states, ours, Illinois, of course, California, we can go down the list, New York, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and others, Jersey. So what's the numerical impact if Governor Newsom and Shapiro and all the rest, if we just pick the top 5 Democratic states, said, you know what, we're gonna stop tiptoeing around this. We're gonna fight fire with fire. Numerically, help the audience understand this nationwide that are listening. The impact numerically, because the Republican states, the red states, don't have the numbers congressional district-wise. If we unleash the hounds in our 5 top states, we would essentially end this conversation. Am I right or wrong?
Well, just in California, Illinois, we might be able to pick up 1 seat. In Maryland, 1 seat, because we're 14-3 Democratic already, just like Massachusetts, Connecticut, they're already all Democrats, So New York will be able to pick up a few seats. Maryland a seat. California, they may be able to do 5 seats on their own, Then I'm trying to think about New Mexico, the blue seats, but most of the seats will be out of California and New York. But the thing is that we're not that far behind. If everybody was in place, we'd be 220 to 215. And so it's not like you need, 20 or 15 or even 10. So it is manageable. We can do it. And we already feel, but you never know because people have to vote. And, we're getting closer to November 2026, that the way they're voting, that, people will know, people feel it now, because we get buyer's remorse now, that they shouldn't have voted like they voted, but you just never know, because at the end of the day, people need to vote. But we can do it. We can do it. But some states like ours, we can't wipe our 3 seats out. Maybe we could do 1. But remember, my district is urban, suburban, and rural now. Right. And I start in Chicago and go south to Danville. And I did take over for, as I went south, for Adam Kinzinger. And then Mary Miller, who's still there, they just moved her actually into a more red district. So we can maneuver some, but a place like California, New York can maneuver more. But the thing is, just the idea of doing this is already scaring some sitting Republicans because they know they'll lose their seats. So my understanding is that some of them have gone to leadership and questioned, should we do this? Because they know their heads will be on the chopping block.
Wow. You're listening to Choose
So
Views.
it could be enough to no, I was going to say this could be enough to scare already sitting Republicans about their seats.
Got it. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We are talking with Congresswoman Robin Kelly from the great state of Illinois, just talking about her district and the things that she sees, the reason why this conversation may be causing some pause with other Republicans. Congresswoman, this is a week that's a celebratory week of the Voting Rights Act and the work that John Lewis did. LBJ, we had the CEO from the Library and Foundation on earlier. Let's talk a little bit about, to the extent that you want to, Clarence Thomas in Section 2 and what he's trying to get to be manipulated with voting and the Supreme Court, the constitutional protections of Section 2.
Oh, he's one of the reasons there need to be term limits in the Supreme Court.
Oh, mercy.
Oh, my goodness. I just don't understand that he the undercutting that he is trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, to gut the Voting Rights Act. I just, I don't know. But he, you know, from a long time ago, he's talked about it'll make, what does he say, exacerbating racial tensions. You know, I don't understand him. I don't understand what he's trying to do. I mean, he's living in the same world, in the same United States. He's seeing progress that has happened because of the Voting Rights Act, but also now, you know, we got 2 more seats, one in Louisiana and one in Alabama, and they're trying to take those away also. Shamari Figures and Cleo seat. I mean, I you know how the term they use, reverse racism. I don't know if that's the term, but he's just I can't even explain him. What he's trying to do.
It is crazy for us in general
he's
as a country.
He's causing the controversy.
He's caught
you know, and he's he made it to where he made it with help. He didn't get to where he is, go through schools, get his education, you know, all by himself. He benefited from the system, however you want to describe it, and now he wants to pull the rug out for other people. Well, he's not now. He's wanted to do it
his entire
for a
career.
long time.
I said the other day that he reminds me of a couple of different, folks or characters from different movies, and the one most notably is the movie Get Out, where he's been so severely brainwashed that he doesn't understand which way is up. So I used 2 movie titles right there. So,
but it's scary because now it seems like he may have, you know, more people that agree with him, you know, serving with them. So that's the, you know, scary part about it. But, he should be ashamed.
Well, he probably doesn't understand that concept of shame.
No.
I have my good colleague Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast with us this morning, and I know she just wants to say hey and thank you for all that you're doing.
Yes, Representative Kelly, I really, really appreciate you and your voice and all of your efforts. I know this is really trying times that we're dealing with, and I appreciate your courage and the courage of your colleagues to speak truth to power. And I really wish that Republicans who are fearful of doing the right thing would take cue from your courage, because y'all are getting threatened, and maybe they would be too. But you know what? This is our democracy. This is our country. And I wish that they would put country over party and partisan politics. So I really appreciate, and all of us out here really understand the risks that you all take every day in speaking out on our behalf. And honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you guys, too, because I look at it that we're in partnership, you know, and that's every crowd I speak to. That's what I say, that we're fighting in D.C. with one arm tied behind our backs. When we're going to fight till the other arm falls off, then we're going to start kicking, you know, but we need people kicking with us. And we need trusted messengers. Everyone doesn't always listen to us, you know, but if there's trusted messengers that can help carry the word, that's very, very, you know, important too. And also, and this applies to me and everyone else, that if you're too scared to do your job, maybe you've come to the point this is not the right job for you. I'm not saying people should die like what happened in, you know, Minnesota or get shot, but I always ask the question, if 50 of them got together and did a press conference and had each other's back and told the truth, why don't they do that?
Exactly.
Why don't they do that?
I said the other day, I said, wouldn't it be great to go into a meet, have a Republican representative finally have the courage to go into a meeting, mic'd up with the recorder on, when we hear them say to you guys, or you guys go into a meeting, I should say, mic'd up, and when they say to you guys behind closed doors, Congresswoman Kelly, you know, I'm not down with this bill, I'm not down with this, I'm not down with that, and you guys be able to play that so that the world can hear. See, they said it, they told us. And talking about the messenger, but the other part to you, what you just said, why can't they've got to know? They have to know, and I know you have these conversations. 25, 50 of them get together and hold their own press conference and say, this is what Donald Trump is doing. Don't do it on your own, Republicans. And then then you guys could actually be their colleagues because you would go, at least they had the courage to step forward. Am I crazy in saying that?
No, I mean, we work together more than people think. We have more bipartisan bills than people think. And I believe last Congress, a lot of them left. Some of them are leaving now, because they just got frustrated themselves. But instead of staying and fighting, they left, and just in energy and commerce alone, we have so many bipartisan bills. They didn't call their bills to the floor. It seems like if they were bipartisan, they didn't call the bills to the floor, just the House floor. And, so they get frustrated, but they leave. And, instead of all of us, being in this together and fighting together. But I think they're afraid to outwardly work with us too much. Even though some Republicans have come to me and said, would you get on the show? Because, my district is, as I said, urban, suburban, rural. I have 4,500 farms, and a lot of them have rural districts. So if it makes sense, if it helps the people, I'll do it. But they're making it increasingly hard to want to work with them because of what they're not doing. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, good point. Congresswoman Robin Kelly from the 2nd District, Congressional District here in the state of Illinois, one of the champions that's out there doing the work. Thank you again for being with us. I know you're super busy, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about. I know you got your Senate campaign that you're running hard with, but we're here to support you because you're there supporting us and doing the hard work. So thanks for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you. Have a great day and a great weekend.
You do the same. Stay cool. It's hot out there.
I know.
All right.
All righty.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Isn't she phenomenal, guys?
I got verklempt.
Yeah, you did.
Seriously.
I heard it in her voice, Karen. Got a little choked up over there, about to get misty.
Up. I'm more than misty right now. Yeah.
But
really, because you appreciate the fact that it's just like they really are taking risks, and they could cower in the corner like they're
Republicans are.
But and the thing too, with this whole thing about, so California is going to follow suit and do this, and they're out there whining about the fact that they're just following the rules that they set.
Right.
So what do you all want?
Those two Congress people, those two state representatives that went on and said, well, because we can. Oh, okay. So then California can't?
Right.
Hell no.
Yeah, so then we can, and we're just playing by your rules on the field that you set out, right? So you can't whine about it. And see, but this is the thing. This is the takeaway that we all have to understand. They have always weaponized our decency against us. They have always banked on the fact that we play by the rules.
Yep.
And so when they go ahead and change the rules to something that is openly unfair, right? They know Democrats aren't going to play by those rules. Well, guess what?
Here we are.
Gloves are off, MFers. Now we're playing by your rules on your game field.
I just ordered a whole truckload of sledgehammers, Democrats.
Yeah.
I can get them delivered to you. Democratic leaders, I'm just playing, y'all. Listen, it's been great. It's been a great week, and I thank everybody that's been on our show, that's been guests on, you that have called in. Great to have Karen in studio with me today, and just appreciate all. Go ahead, you get some.
One really quick.
Go fast.
7500 Roosevelt Road, People's Post Alliance, 10 to 11:30 Saturday.
There you go, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. It's going to be hot here in Chicago and throughout the rest of the country. Take a deep breath. Make your life count. We'll see you next week.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
The fact of the matter is Lindsey Graham has been in the U.S. Senate for 22 years, which is half of my lifetime.
That's Dr. Annie Andrews, one of a handful of Democrats running for U.S. Senate in South Carolina. She hopes to face four-term Republican incumbent Lindsey Graham in the 2026 general election. Andrews was speaking about Graham to WCPT's Richard Chu.
He is vulnerable. His approval rating in South Carolina is 34% right now. If I ever got 34% on a class in medical school, I wouldn't be a doctor. So he should not be a U.S. Senator. And this is a midterm election year. Donald Trump is not on the ballot to bail Lindsey out. He has 3 primary challengers, including the architect of Project 2025. So even folks on the right see